Hey everyone, Bryan here. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, as I always say, these are amazing conversations. I hope you get much out of them as we enjoy doing them. Today, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to see us diametrically opposed. That's a big word with three syllables. Keith is impeccably dressed, and I am wearing a beautiful T-shirt. Uh, Keith's joining us today from beautiful Newport Beach, California. And I'm joining you from equally beautiful Naples, Florida. So it's the same market in a different place.
Yeah,
In fact, I just did my last podcast was what we learned in a mastermind, looking in the backyards of billionaires. It was a fun podcast because we did a sunset cruise and we got to look in everyone's backyards, and so we're turning those into marketing lessons. But anyway,
that's cool.
Keith is he's the founder of lots of stuff. We'll talk about that, but his primary role he's going to talk a little bit today is something called Home Guardian, and Home Guardian is revolutionizing how we take care of our homes and how we keep our HVAC contractors and our water quality guys and everyone else honest to
Yeah.
give us what we really want and to really give us some really interesting insight into our homes. And Keith and I are both passionate about helping kids, right? They got to find a better way. I always tell people you have to be entrepreneurial, right? And there's lots of ways to be entrepreneurial. And Keith is saying, don't go to school, get a degree in history or anthropologic studies of, whatever, Tibetan coffee farmers and have $180,000 in debt and go work at Starbucks as a barista, but go into the trades. And so it's obviously you can't AI the fact that your air conditioner needs to be fixed or your plumbing needs to be fixed or you need a heater or whatever, right? So we're going to dig into that a little bit today. So Keith, say hi to everybody and kind of give us a short snippet of your background and how you ended up doing Home Guardian, because I don't know that we have a 4 hour episode in front of us.
Yeah, that's for sure. Um, Real quick, thanks for having me on, Ryan. I
Ah,
appreciate
welcome.
it. Started off in the trades really young age, grew up in the trades, love blue collar, always have. Um, Done very well for myself throughout the years, owned a couple companies, had some great success on exits, and throughout that, I had some failures too. They're not always the best.
It's
But
life. We get it.
throughout that, there was always this in the back of my mind, giving full transparency to contractors and homeowners. There was never that, like, hey, when you buy an air conditioner, this is what it does for you. This is why you should spend, 30,000, 15,000, whatever it is on the air conditioner. So a few years back, I had the idea of creating a widget on a wall that told homeowners, the miles per gallon, basically SEER rating. And that led me into, going into debt back then, and it just really didn't work out. I was too early. This was years and years ago, and just kept on trucking at, doing the trades and owning heating and air conditioning companies and plumbing companies and so forth. And I do coaching and consulting. And I literally, one day ran into a guy because I sit on a board of another startup company, and I ran into this guy, and I told him my idea, and he was like, I don't know, it's heating and air conditioning. And I said, all right. And then he looked it up, called me up a few weeks later and said, did you know that's a $90 billion industry? I said, you're close, but yeah, I do. And he's all, I'm in. So I started paying him, and lo and behold, we're getting ready to launch. We're production ready now. And what it is think about this. Your home tells you absolutely nothing. It's your biggest asset, right? Your car tells you absolutely everything, and it's telling you right front tires going low, headlights out, turn signals still beeping, oil change. And at the same time, your dealership and the manufacturer are sending you emails telling you it's time to do this service. It's time, like they reach out to you, and at the end of the month, you typically will get an update of how your car did for the month. So that's Home Guardian does. Home Guardian is a true hardware and software that we had to build that connects you, the homeowner, with the contractor at the same time. So they're getting the same alerts you're getting, and you're able to see, like, literally, hey, my compressor's overamping. I can see my utility bills. Why my utility bills are this way? Why my water quality is so terrible? And then you guys just installed a new water filtration system. Why is it so bad still? Like, and then you can start figuring out and finding solutions. Typically, you we're a reactive industry. Blue collar trades are reactive, never proactive. And so that's what this makes it is proactive. So when things start happening, it's going to tell homeowners what's going on, but it's also telling the contractors as well. So that's the biggest thing. If you've ever tried, like me growing up, we didn't grow up wealthy, so my dad was always telling me turn off the lights, do this, do that. He wanted to keep his utility bill down, but he never knew what it was going to be. He just had an average. This will tell you you can set it to where basically it's true smart home learning. Most people say they have smart home technology and this, that, and the other. Ours is true. What it will do is you can put on there, I only want to spend $250 a month. By the 20th, you're at $200. It'll start telling you what to shut things off, what to raise your air conditioning up to, and all that type of stuff. So now you can start budgeting your utility bills as well. So there's a lot to it, and that's a quick introduction of how I got to where I'm at. I know it's kind of sped through it, but I don't want to bore
No, that's
everybody
awesome.
about all of it. Barely graduating high school and growing up very rough and tumble and all this other stuff, and now I wear bespoke suits every day, and it's just totally different.
All right, full disclosure, I will not be wearing a bespoke suit every day. I'm just trying to get so, but I get it. We had a chuckle about that beforehand.
Yeah.
But there's a couple. So as always, I always come back to these marketing lessons. So one of the things I want people listening to take away from this, transparency is authority. So the fact that Keith is saying, hey, listen, manufacturers, not by design, don't they have this disjoint system, right? They have all this stuff going on. Contractors are also disjoint because the HVAC guys worried about HVAC, the plumbing guys worry about plumbing, the air quality person is worried about something like so now if you think about your home is which is we spend so much time in our homes and we want to live a long and healthy life, and so how can you do that? So I think that's really a cool concept. Probably not what you think about, right? Because you just think transparency is transparency, but I'm like, it's an authority play because now all of a sudden you guys are leading the way as far as in making a truly connected home smart and intelligence. That's really good. The other thing that I'm going to say, and we'll tie back in later, is network like crazy. You never know who you're going to meet. So if you're listening to this, get off your ass and go hang out with cool people. Go to the events that you should be going to because they're doing different stuff and you can't do that. We're not sitting and ingesting stuff and watching YouTube videos and stuff. Go press the flesh. I did an episode a while back that I'm in a mastermind. I run one. Like I go hang out with cool people and maybe they're not in their industry. You met someone because you were maybe doing some play and hey, you guys should know each other. And you're like, I got this crazy idea. By the way, crazy ideas is what makes this country great because crazy ideas plus a bunch of money and a bunch of time and a bunch of heartache eventually, hopefully turns into something good. But because he's got a real business that makes cash, cash is good. We're allowed to be
Yeah.
profitable, right? So that you can provide the services that your customers are entitled to. I heard that last week or 2 weeks ago in my mastermind to my client who I said, yeah, I'm charging you more money. And he goes, so you can provide the services that we are accustomed to reaching. I'm like, yes. So that's, and I'm going to make it a lot more than you thought. And they went, ah. So anyway, all good stuff. And then really the idea of a car versus home, because that's really, so you probably have a smarter car than I do because my car doesn't email me. But you probably driving a Tesla or something cool, whatever that proactively does that because we as consumers want to know what's going on. I have to ask you a question on that. So, um, how did you decide to put the budgeting in, right? Because obviously energy costs are up, consumptions are up. Do I do solar or not? Like all these questions we always have. How did you decide that was? Because I've never heard of anyone talking about the end game of here's how much I want to spend based upon history. I know I live in Florida. Energy is relatively inexpensive. I'll use that term relatively. It's my bill's insane because it's hot all the time.
Yeah.
But how did you come with the idea of like, hey, I only want to spend 250 and I can make some lifestyle changes because then all of a sudden you could say, hey, listen, if I turn all the lights off when I'm not here and I turn the air up to 82 when I'm gone and it turns back on to 76, I don't know what the temperatures are where you are. Like when I come back at 4 o'clock and how did you decide to make that a part of the play? That's pretty cool,
Well,
actually.
um, so I don't drive a Tesla.
Okay, so I just guessed.
I know I'm in California. I actually drive a Ford F-450 dually, if believe it or not. Um, I,
Truck Nation, let's go. I drive a Tundra, so let's go.
I'm a big truck guy, but my truck tells me all that, right? So Ford has it. It's called Ford Pass. Then my wife has a Mercedes, and we have a couple other cars, and they all have this connectivity now. You can sign up for it if you want it. But I wanted to like really focus in on you know, um, I used to have a Cadillac, my wife did, and it would tell us all these updates and how she'd drive and all this other stuff. And I started thinking, oh, I love this OnStar thing. And then it was during the time that I started this company. And so budgeting wise, my dad growing up, he was always yelling at us, don't run the AC, don't do this, because he didn't know what the utility bills were going to be. So that's why we came up with this, was because I wanted middle America to have it. I wanted everybody to have it. I wanted people to be able to, you know, it's predicting what's going to happen to your home. And when we start, so we read humidity, outdoor, indoor, and real time, wherever the nodes are at. So we can start telling you, hey, your roof is starting to get a lot of moisture inside there. It'll send an alert to the homeowner. It will send an alert to the contractor. Typically, we don't know our roof's leaking until we see a stain and we look up and there's a bubble, right? So we started trying to figure out, like, all this is, instead of being reactive, we wanted to be proactive. And that's just along with the utility bill. I started looking at, like, I won't even tell you what my utility bills are because they're insane, but we pay 47 cents a kilowatt, just to give you an idea. And
I'm dying.
my
Give me
house is
tape.
like I won't even say it's a good sized house. So I was like, man, what's costing me the most? When I start plugging it in, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, as soon as we hooked it up, I went 80% of, or sorry, 40% of my utility bill is my pool pumps. So I got one of my techs to go over there, change out the two pool pumps. It dropped it all the way down to 8%. Just like that. So it made me as a consumer, not just a business owner, a consumer go, huh, how can I reduce my utility bill? And that was the first one. Then we went air conditioners. We started looking at the air conditioners, change out all the air conditioners. Boom, dropped it more. So we started just chunking away at it. It literally helps homeowners make those decisions versus the contractor just coming out and telling you, oh, you need a new air conditioner. Well, how do you know that? Yeah, because it's old, but it might be still running pretty good. What about the pool pump? What about, the dishwasher? What about the 7 freezers you have in the garage? Whatever it is, like, this dissects everything for you and it tells you what your percentages are of what the usage is. So that's where we just had a client. We put in 3 of the 4 systems in his house, and we put, Home Guardian in his house. He's a beta tester for us. And he called us and said, hey, remember that 4th system? I need it replaced. What? Did you look? And I said, yep. So the 4 systems, or the 3 systems we put in, are running at, we'll just call it 16 SEER. His 4th one that we didn't replace because he says nobody stays there, or nobody uses that part of the house, I should say, was running like 2.5, 3 SEER. So he sold it to himself. Like, he called us, and we didn't want to reach out to him because we just did the system. We were letting him look at it and play with it. And then we had another client that literally just had a company put in a water filtration system in their home. Then we put this in afterwards, and it was terrible water quality. So the homeowner calls us, and we go out there and we're like, well, they hooked it up backwards. So, like, just full transparency. Like, I love that, and I love it about it. And like you said, I wanted people to see what's really going on inside their homes, their apartment complexes, their commercial buildings, whatever it is, because we can hook it up to anything. And it takes an hour and a half to install. So, I mean, it's not anything complicated. It's all our own technology. It's just, we took bits and pieces of all the different industries and just brought them together, and we can do it with brand new systems, brand new homes, or 50-year-old homes, 60-year-old homes. It doesn't matter.
That's amazing. And actually, so if you think about this, right? So obviously people listen to this are in the home services space or business owners in general. How crazy is it from a sales point of view? Keith and I are what we would call consummate sales professionals, right? So how easy is it to sell something that doesn't need to be sold? Self-service selling is the dream. That everyone dreams, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and all these buyers are going to come rushing in. You could certainly see this as a loss leader, or you could see it as a use it free for 3 months. We'll take it out. Like there's a million options to get adoption to the point. But so what else can business owners do in their business to remove all of the friction? That's the buzzword now is friction. This is like frictionless. Like you're just handing these people like martini glasses and an ice jar to shake your martini. And it's just like, just pour it, go ahead. And just the more you look at it, the more you're like, oh, I wonder if, because we don't know. I'm a relatively knowledgeable consumer. We also own a home services business. My wife has a high-end interior design business, and we just kind of chuckle at these contractors and like, if you make the experience white glove, price is less of an issue, but you have to prove it up front, not tell them about it, and then give them a shit experience. Excuse my French, but so doing that. But by having something like this, think about it. You plug it in, and yeah, there's work for it. I get all that,
Yeah.
but find something in your business that you can plug in. Every business can find some way to plug in something, right? It could be a free thing, a done for them thing, whatever thing to do that. But Keith's sitting on some gold right there, so I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's for business owners. Most business owners that we've met with want to give it away to all their clients because it's a retention hub.
Oh,
We have clients that know that we are a one-stop shop. We can handle anything. We have, all the licenses. We could build a home if we wanted to. But what we really boil down to is we've been out to clients' houses that don't have it, and we installed, say, air conditioning. And then they had another company come out and do tankless water heaters. We do tankless water heaters. Why didn't we get that job? And they said, well, we thought you only did heating and air. And so it's a retention hub. Like no more chasing down the clients. And so the homeowner gets alert, the contractor gets alert. The dispatch is going to call the homeowner, but the homeowner can just hit a button on the app or on their dashboard on their wall and say, no need for service. I spilled a gallon of water in my kitchen, whatever it is. Or no need for service. I don't need somebody to come out and change out my filter because we're reading, it's not timers, it's real static pressure. We're reading everything, real information, gathering real data. And there's a drop ship, so we can have a filter drop ship directly to their house. They don't even have to deal with the contractor. So
right.
that's the whole play on it is we wanted to kind of reduce the marketing cost, reduce you know, the warranty cost because warranty is huge in our industries and builders and so forth. So if we can catch these problems before they become mass problems,
Sure.
it's huge. Home warranty, homeowners insurance, utility companies, they're all willing to put this in your home for no charge because they want to understand, they want to save the money too.
Well, the data, right? So the new frontier is the data. They want to know if they can learn consumption, they can learn to engineer that.
Yes.
As always, there's a marketing takeaway that people don't know about. Cost of sales. It's always cheaper to sell the same customer more stuff than go find new customers. I
Yes.
had a very uncomfortable conversation with someone this morning about they wanted to go after new customers. I'm like, but you got, let's just say 1,000 raving customers, and you only want to get 50 new deals, whatever, in the next 6 months. Your average deal is $50,000, whatever it is. Why are you spending your time and effort going after a new customer when you can just say all the people that have technology X and you want to sell them technology Y? Just say, hey, did you know we do technology Y? We do technology Z. It's a whole lot easier. And they go, oh, I didn't know you did that. This is probably the case, right? And by the way, there's a 100% chance if you don't tell them that they're not going to know. Now, techs, you can train them to a certain point, but there's a limit, right? We always talk about in magnetic marketing, we always talk about repelling and deflecting. So magnets attract, but they also deflect. So if the homeowner is at the time going, I just wrote a check for $15,000 for X, Y, and Z, I don't want to get upsold at that time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not, you're not being upsold. You're saying, hey, listen, by the way, we do this. So it's a really clever Columbo way, the Columbo close. Oh, by the way, we do this.
Yes.
So he's smirking for those of you who are not listening. He's got the smirk. Only
Well,
salespeople know the Columbo close. Oh, by the way, just one more thing. Did you know?
it's facts, right? Like if you have good technicians that can go out there and convey to the homeowners what we actually do is great. But they get tired. They get their wife blowing them up on the phone, hurry up and get home. They get whatever it is, they don't put the stickers on the equipment, they don't do this, they don't do like it's I've been doing, the blue collar trades for over 35 years. And I've been in all aspects of it. And I know, there's good guys out there that have done very well for themselves. but they've not been perfect on every call. So
No, it's impossible. We're humans, right?
yeah, so that's
We're human.
where, that's where this comes into play. This is really, it's going to save, I talked with, some big home builders, national home builders, and their, home warranty, they own the home for 10 years. So their warranty rates are, have gone up from like 4% all the way up to 12%. And that's because, over time, this just keeps on rising. So when they saw this product, they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Can you worry about or work on our warranty rates? Yeah, we can be predictive. And so if you can cut it by like 3%, 4%, they were like, this is amazing. This is what we're all in. Like, so it's really how we're going to market is directly to the contractors because we're offering it as a retention hub. And if either you get it or you don't. If you don't get it, you're going to be that guy still, slinging the wrenches the rest of your life and gets put on the side of the road. It just, I've always been the guy that's always changed with the times. Like I'm more than willing to like, if somebody has an idea, bring it to me. And if it's better and it works, let's go. I'm all in. But I'm willing to try anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I think for listeners, well, one, Keith's really willing to take some risks, and not everyone may be willing to take all those risks. But the good news is he took the risk, so you don't have to, right? So you just got to plug in the stuff. That's really pretty cool. I'm excited to see how that plays out. So I want to change gears for a second because I
Yeah, no
can't help
worries.
myself. Talk about the light bulbs going off in kids and entrepreneurship. Kids, I mean in college kids, young adults, people that what it could be a 50-year-old man, right? So when that light bulb, so talk to me about because there's nothing more the smiles on our faces are both like because we did this in the pre-call and I started putting my hands up in the air. He's like, no, I'm not being crazy. I'm like, I love that because um as busy as Keith is, he finds time now. In some cases, he may be getting paid or not or whatever, but he's doing it not because he has to. He's doing it because he wants to. So that's the difference. Like you want to find the most successful people in town. They're the busiest in town. But talk about like what drew you to, I mean, selfishly, you're going to talk at colleges and trade schools. So the best and brightest come and see you after and say, I'd love to come work for you. Let's be real. It's not a bad recruitment model. But outside of that, you have any stories to talk about people that you may have come across that you may came across later that kind of raised their hand and said, this is a life because not kids don't drink. I don't believe today. They're well, man, I can't wait to be a plumber. I can't wait to be an HVAC. I want to crawl around in the attic. But they don't mind the 120K a year gig and they have their 30-foot Freeman, their 34-foot Freeman that's $600,000 that they paid for with overtime over the last 3 years, like whatever. So talk to me a little bit about what made you do it, and then obviously some kind of aha moments is kind of a fun thing to talk about.
I think I know, to this day, I know my guidance counselor. I remember her name because she basically told me I grew up like a rough and tumble kid, just, not the greatest at school and so forth. And so she told me, you're going to be a plumber the rest of your life, or you're going to be a heating and air. She just said, you're going to be in the construction trades. You're going to have to work with your hands. You're never going to school, blah, blah, blah. She basically was putting me down. And to this day, that stuck to me. And so one day, I had a much bigger company that I exited. We had a ton of technicians, and I started going, why can't we get more technicians in? So I started going to, high schools and talking to them. What I would do is pull up in a fancy car, get out, walk up in a nice suit, and start talking to the guidance counselors and say, hey, I'd like to set up a time where I can meet with some of your kids that are graduating, or the whole graduating class, and discuss, the future, what's out there, what's available to them. And over time, it went from high schools to trade schools, all the way up to like Chapman University to the bigger universities and stuff. And I just started talking to them, and I had the aha moment when I realized I did some research that we're losing so many tradesmen, um, because most people in my era didn't want their kids to go into the trades. They didn't see it. It wasn't a great industry. It wasn't, you know, they didn't realize it's recession proof, it's pandemic proof, and it just keeps on going. And now It's the hottest thing in private equity. Private equity's buying up. There's more multimillionaires in the blue collar trades than anywhere in the world right now. There's charts that just do some research and look at the charts of private equity just in the HVAC business, let alone roofing now, garage door companies and so forth. And these guys are leaving the industry. We're talking anywhere from 10 million to 700-800 million dollar exits. So the aha moment for me was like, I started talking to these kids and they were like, my parents just said, go get the college experience. What's that mean to you? Party? So you want to go to college to party. Would you rather leave high school, get a trade underneath yourself, and go out and buy a new car, move out of mom and dad's house, and get out on your own and start your life? I was 19 when I bought my first house. I got a $20,000 sign-on bonus to go work for a heating and air conditioning company. And by the time I was 22, I was making over 200,000 a year.
Yeah, they don't
Installing
realize
an
that
install.
you can be coin operated and be in the trades, right? So, I have mixed feelings with the purpose of are they just we had a really predatory guy in our market that was using crazy loan structures to be a predator
I
against old
know who he
people.
was. I
Yeah,
guarantee I know who he was. He's at
Mr.
it again too.
Is he at it again?
Yeah.
So,
But
if you're in, just
how
type in
we,
Bonita Springs HVAC fraud, and you'll find out who it is.
yeah, no,
But
I
that
know.
that to me was a shame because he believed in training his people up. His people made good money. I don't know if they did good work or not. I have no idea. But all he's gonna be known about is the fact that he went out and
Yeah.
was a predator. Like that's
He got,
wrong.
he got too far ahead of himself and was robbing Peter to pay Paul and that type of stuff.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's,
he had a big
that's,
ego too. He had a very big ego. He was very
yes.
him and Tony
Still,
Robbins. They were lock and step with each other.
still kind of does, which I'm surprised. But
I am
what I,
too.
what I'm, how I was getting paid was basically, you know, piecework. So I'd go out, do an install, and I get paid a percentage of the job. And if I had a callback, I didn't get paid.
Right. So you did the right job right the first
So we
time.
had to do the job right the first time because if I had a callback, they wouldn't give me the next call. And that's the same with service as well. So there's certain ways to pay, and there's certain ways to get paid, and there's a lot of good companies out there that pay. I know a guy that made like 1.6 million last year as a service technician, but he was basically the sales guy for the company. He had all these feeders technicians that didn't know how to close deals and stuff. So they'd find broken, air conditioners and so forth, and they'd call him up. He'd go out there and sell him a new system. He got paid commission off of it. He'd go good, better, best. So the opportunity is endless. But my biggest thing is like trying to get these guys for 5 to 6 years to get into the trades, understand the trades, and then start understanding the back end because that's what I never learned. I didn't know the back end of my like a business operation, so they can start their own company. Because I feel like if you train somebody in the field and they can do very well out in the field, that makes a great competitor. So for me and my companies, I always try and show them both sides. Like, here's how you do it properly, and then here's the back end. This is what you got to charge, a certain dollar amount to cover office expenses, your overhead and all that. Because a lot of guys, they leave a company, go buy a truck, and then start, and then they're stuck in the field just spinning their wheels. If you understand how the business process works, it's a different story. And so my first company I sold, I probably got so taken advantage of because I didn't even know what a P&L was when I sold my first company.
Oh,
I
for
really,
sure.
I didn't, but I sold it at 30, so I didn't know. But then I had my college years running with this big company going, aha, now I know. And
Exactly.
that's, I feel like that's my moment for me to stress to the younger generations that are coming up. AI is not coming and taking this. Something that you pointed out earlier, you said, reach out to people, get to know other people and so forth. I talk to everybody. I literally have no problem. And I have Peter DeGone does my financials. You know who he is? He's the founder of Turi. Like, I didn't know him. I just started talking with them. Like all these guys I
Right.
just started talking with. There's so many people that I started networking. I started using, my clientele, going out to clientele's houses and just, hey, how you doing? Oh, what do you do? Oh, what you used to do? And
It's
you
amazing when
can't,
you're willing to put yourself out there and make the conversation about them first and not you.
yeah.
Um,
And that's like Mark Katz. He's actually getting ready to come into my office here in about an hour. He was the CFO of Burlington. Burlington Coat, don't ever say Burlington Coat Factory to him because he took away Coat Factory because they don't really sell coats.
oh, they did when they were in New Jersey, because when they were
Yeah,
originally in New Jersey, they were, and then they
but
had a
not,
factory outlet with just they were old coats. Because as a guy, I grew up also very humble, and I remember going to Burlington and buying the leftovers at the coat factory outlets
yeah.
in Burlington, New Jersey, and Southern New Jersey. So I do that. So
So he took it in 14, took over as CFO and took him to an IPO. He's one of my clients. Next thing we know, we started having a conversation. Now we're good friends.
it's
And
amazing how that works, right?
it's just putting yourself out there. And I'm not college educated. I didn't come, from a big background of family businesses and entrepreneurs. I just enjoy what I do, and I enjoy talking to people. And that's 50% of it. The rest is, you got to be willing to put yourself out there.
That's cool. I'll share with you early in my career. Someone I work with said I told what I was doing. I'm like, I'm gonna get involved in local community chamber of commerce kind of stuff. He's like, oh, you should meet my neighbor Paul. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't know at the time that Paul was the chief accounting officer or the chief purchasing officer for Merck and Company, this little $80 billion pharmaceutical company. So we would go to meetings together and we would drive in his Oldsmobile 98, whatever, because he lived 5 minutes from me. He'd like pick me up. And it took, and it literally, my boss started laughing because he knew. So I went and had lunch with Paul one day. I didn't know I'm here for Paul. Oh, here I go to the freaking corner office, and I didn't realize that he was purchasing every single thing that the company did. And he taught me a couple really important things: that everyone puts their pants on the same way, and that this is kind of I'll mention this because it matters to everybody. If you get to see an important executive, it's only because they want to see you and you have an answer to a problem that they know they have. And that if you can get on the list, this is where people screw up. And if you can get on the list, that's good. And what he said, this is where salespeople always screwed up. They thought they were like next on the list. You're like 7 or 8 on the list, because he said every executive at Merck and Company has 5 to 7 major initiatives: buying airplanes, building plants, doesn't whatever. Every single manager, that's how their culture was, that they would never let you take on more than 5 to 7. It was your job to be number 8, 9, or 10. So and that's why pipelines matter, and tracking and stay in contact with people and stuff. Because if you could be number 8, and whether you were on my list or on Keith's list or on Paul's list or whoever's list, and I was such an amazing piece of advice that I never forgot. To this day, I'm not even sure I know Paul's name. I know he literally lives next door. He lives in White House Station. I think he finally retired, probably 10 years ago at this point. But what an amazing, like, again, I got to meet somebody. Just we became friends first. It was about them. We had a common goal. We were trying to help out our local community and stuff. And it was a great relationship. But I never knew it. I'm like sitting here, I'm going, why am I going up the executive elevator? I had been in the building before. Like, why am I going past all these people? And then I like I'm like, oh, it's Paul. Oh, like, look at his office. It's the size of. Same thing happened not too awful long later. I got asked to come in and said, Bryan, do you have a jacket? I did used to wear jackets. So I did have Bryan, do you have a jacket? Why is that? Oh, I want you to meet a few people. We're going to use the boardroom. Well, it was a company called Foster Wheeler. They're still in business. They're now part of somebody else. They're a multi-billion-dollar construction company all over the world. Uh, they build refineries and they build all major stuff, right? They were rebuilding Iraq, they were rebuilding Afghanistan, like they were a major infrastructure construction company. So I get to meet like these 3 guys. They were 3 people on the board. So I met the CFO, the chief legal counsel, and 3 people: Joe, Mary, and Tom, whatever. He was the CEO of freaking General Electric something. I was like, they were all, because they're on public boards, they have other public board members on it. And we just had a half an hour, 45 minutes hanging out. And I was working on a very important project and they needed to learn quickly. And they're like, well, we don't normally do this, but come on in. And then they escorted me out. And then the 11 other people came in, and it was a board meeting for a public. They were doing their investor call. So I got to listen to the investor call. Like, again, only because you're open to it, you ask, you're genuine, you're inquisitive, you ask first, you say, what can I do to help? So all this shit, it's like, because in every market, and by the way, it doesn't matter where you are, everywhere you have a market, there's influential people who probably want to help. They don't want to meet for a coffee to pick my brain, right?
Yes.
Right. So if I knew Keith and I knew he was passionate about kids or people in entrepreneurship and the trades, I would want to say, hey, you should know my friend Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly runs a program up in Napa called the ATI Trade Schools. He teaches people how to be electricians, welders, and gunsmiths. You guys
Oh,
should
nice.
know each other. He also owns a vineyard in Napa. He's also known as Machine Gun Kelly. He's a little bit odd, but he lives in California, but he moves his people to Idaho because he's like, I love California, but I don't want to run my business from here, as you
Yeah.
can imagine why.
Yeah.
So, but again, he's also into like people that says, his audiences are people who leave the military and don't want to do. So they're already interested in guns and like, well, he has been doing this since the 70s. Yes. He used to advertise in the back of Guns and Ammo magazine. And it said, send this coupon in to get a free guide on the 7 ways you could become a gunsmith. And he literally you cut or send a check in for 797. So
Yeah.
again, there's all ways of doing it, but you have to be open to it. You have to be receptive and you have to help out. So all right,
That's my
cool.
wife. My wife always tells me, babe, you meet so many people, so many like sh- she made me get over this little hump as of recently, probably about 2, 3 years ago. I went into a big board room where there was all these private equity guys. I won't name drop what major firm it was, but I'm sitting in this boardroom and there's all these guys out there, huge room. You got, Tokyo on the phone, you got London on the phone, and I'm like, I walked out, had to do a little, all right, let me walk back in here. And she tells me, they called you. They asked you to be in there. Don't worry about their Harvard and, Yale degrees. Just focus on you. Like they're asking you for advice. You're not asking them. They brought you out. And that was the
Right.
big eye opener for me during that time.
It's fun when you can actually like you're the person in the room that they want to be a part of it. So the joke is I wear t-shirts. I remember once I was early in my career and I was working for a network management company. And so our customers were like the New York Daily News and not Foster Wheeler, like Chase Manhattan Bank, like these big banks and stuff like that. And so one Thursday afternoon, all hell broke loose. Something broke, something we did was whatever. And so I had to call my boss, we ended up being partners working together, ended up being on the board of my company. And he comes into this meeting on Friday afternoon or Friday morning, and he's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And they're all giving him the dirty look. And then I was chuckling. I'm going, oh, great, here we go. And then finally I go, well, I brought Joe here to fix it. So all of a sudden he started, because they were all looking down on him because it was still
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they went, oh, Joe, you're that Joe. Because then he was the one that architected the system. It was his people that did it. Something happened, whatever. It was clearly fixable, but they just couldn't. So we need to be sitting in the room. And so but he was, and I was like, well, you have to forgive Joe because I stopped him from going mountain climbing and he said, I'm not going. And I drove to his house and got him and drove him here because he's like, I'm not going to that meeting because I'm going mountain climbing tomorrow morning. So we're just happy that he's here. So, and then, same deal happens. It's the same set situation. Be
Yeah.
comfortable in your own shoes. We all deserve a spot. If you're at the table, everyone deserves a spot at the table,
Yeah.
right? So,
I
all right.
agree with that
All
100%.
right, cool. So I want to wrap this because I like to kind of
Yeah.
keep these 30, 40 minutes. Is there anything? So obviously, how can we keep in contact with or keep hearing about what's going on with the HG home thing, whatever it's called? So is there a website we can see and
Yeah,
keep?
you go to www, I always do that. I'm old school like that.
That's all
So
right.
hghomeguardian.com.
That's it. Sorry. So we're gonna make sure that's on the notes, so you'll get some backlinks. That'll be good for stuff, and then we'll be really interested to keep an eye on you what's going on that. So, um, Keith, thank you so much for your time,
Thank you for
and
having me on.
then we will see you on the next episode of the podcast.
I appreciate it. Take care, Brian.